If I think of my life as a class and what I've really learned, I've learned a few things. First, I'm aware that I'm a child of God. It's such an amazing understanding to think that the it, which made fleas and mountains and rivers and stars, made me. What I pray for is humility, to know that there is something greater than I. And I have to know that the brute, the bigot, and the batterer are all children of God, whether they know it or not. And I'm supposed to treat them accordingly. And it's hard, and I blow it all the time.
Mongrel class of people.
I'd like everybody to think of a statement by Terence. The statement is, I am a human being. Nothing human can be alien to me. If you can internalize the least portion of that, you will never be able to say of an act, a criminal act, or I couldn't do that. No matter how heinous the crime, if a human being did it, you have to say, I have in me all the components that are in her or in him. I intend to use my energies constructively as opposed to destructively. If you can do that about the negative, just think what you can do about the positive. If a human being dreams a great dream, dares to love somebody, if a human being dares to be Martin King or Mahatma Gandhi or Mother Teresa or Malcolm X, if a human being dares to be bigger than the condition into which she or he was born, it means so can you. And so you can try to stretch yourself. So you can internalize, homo sum, humani nihila me alienum puto. I am a human being. Nothing human can be alien to me. That's one thing I'm learning.
What is the composition of a black show? In and of itself, that ass so many questions, infinitely bending and eventually breaking rules that define the status quo. Taking looks, drilling down in books, how far does it go? Turn it up and listen while we examine the facts though. Strapped with a heavyweight that make the screens crack, bro. Misunderstanding the last line is exactly why this show should be your pastime. Prime time exacto. Open up your mind, time. Team Black got a mean track record of being nice when tracking records on a media device, second to none. The docket is a bottle rocket on course to explode with reasonable mind force plus fun. We just begun discussions over what should be done. It's your choice, it's your voice. Say it loud and don't fall back, yo. This is your time to define. It's a black show.
What's going on, folks? We are back. This is a black show, and I am your host, Elon James White. Let's get to it. On Friday, May 23rd, 2014, Elliot Rodgers killed 7 people after leaving behind a collection of videos and a 140-page manifesto explaining that he was going to exact his revenge on women who would not sleep with him. This horrendous act and reasoning was scary for many women because he didn't sound like a completely deranged lunatic. He sounded like a lot of men who harass women on a regular basis. This was expressed in spectacular fashion on the Yes All Women hashtag on Twitter. The only thing more amazing than the truth and honesty that was expressed on this hashtag was the extreme efforts that some have taken to explain how this had nothing to do with women at all.
Can I just add real quickly that there were 4 men killed here
Absolutely.
and 2 women.
That's right.
And the issue, you know, is not about women, and I think that it's kind of insulting for women to go on Twitter and talk about how them getting hit on at the bar is equal to getting shot in the street, because it's not.
Because that's what the women were saying? Y'all do realize that women were giving examples of actual assault and the thought process that Rogers had and expressed in a very clear way, and they were explaining how this is something they deal with regularly. Can they predict when some idiot is going to come stab, shoot, assault, or kill them? Men say the nonsense that Rogers said all too often. The mentality and the culture we have here in America is one that is dangerous and toxic for women. Simply walking to the store can be a gauntlet for most women. Men harassing them for attention, and if not given in the manner in which the man wants it, then the men will call them bitches and hoes and even threaten them. But it's wrong for women to speak on this? Are you shitting me? And the men's right advocates who have attempted to make the argument that this had nothing to do with women, I have a question for you. Are you f***ing stupid? I'm actually genuinely asking, of all the things to argue about, you're attempting to argue misogyny had nothing to do with this? This? If this isn't misogyny, then what the f*** is? If saying you want to exact revenge on those sluts because they rejected you and wouldn't sleep with you and you deserved it because you were such a nice guy isn't misogyny, then how the hell do y'all define it? And this gets worse. So asshat extraordinaire Glenn Beck, who is known for being an asshat, decided he wanted to challenge the Obama administration on their commentary and actions that they're doing around campus rape. Beck, on his Blaze network, thought that this segment would be a great thing to produce and then re-release after the UC Santa Barbara shootings.
Great piece for us tonight.
Yeah.
So one of the statistics they used with this killer was that nearly 1 in 5 American women report being raped at some time. Completely untrue statistic. And Stu absolutely tears it apart because, yeah, they inflate all these assault numbers in cases like this, and what a disservice. So you got to see it.
The White House gets its 1 in 5 number from 2 studies. This campus sexual assault study, conducted for the Justice Department, found that 19% of women reported experiencing completed or attempted sexual assault since entering college. First of all, this study is not representative of all colleges, but of only 2. It was an online survey that the authors themselves admitted had low response rates. The majority of those assaulted were drunk or high when the incident took place. However, 62% of these victims did not consider the incident to be rape. What's going on here is that the president is saying these women were raped, and these women are saying they weren't. Who do you believe?
I'm having a hard time feeling my left arm, and I taste pennies, and I kicked my penny eating addiction years ago.
The White House looked at was the 2010 National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey. The study states that 18% of women in the United States have been raped at some time in their lives. But how do they figure out if someone's been raped? I think I would ask, have you been raped? That's how I do it. But this is how the study did it. They asked questions like, when you were drunk, high, drugged, or passed out and unable to consent, how many people ever had sex with you? It's incoherent wording like that that makes this confusing. Newsflash, I hate to say it, but it is possible to have consensual sex while drunk or high. If you eliminate sex while drunk or high, you eliminate about half the sex in the entire United States.
But you can't say...
To illustrate this point, I'll bring in rape expert Jeff Fisher. Here are some questions that the study actually used to determine whether a woman was raped. Jeffy, please act these out.
You should have sex with me. I'm going to be on the cover of the Abercrombie & Fitch catalog this month.
Okay.
Whoa, stop! That's rape. Pressuring someone to have sex with you by telling them lies is the same as rape.
You should have sex with me. I will always love you, and I will never look at another, ever.
Okay.
Whoa. Hold on. That's rape. Making promises about the future you know are untrue to get sex is the same.
No.
That's frowny-faced rape.
Y'all know that the study literally asked whether or not you had the capability to consent, right? Y'all realize that a lot of folks don't even know what rape means? Some men will actually say they've never committed rape, but if you ask the question differently and not say rape, but just say forced or without consent, all of a sudden there are a bunch of dudes who will actually say yes, they've done that. There are women out here, because of how our society discusses rape, don't even know that they've been raped. They don't know that if they didn't want to have sex and was intoxicated and sex happened anyway, that's rape. They blame themselves for being drunk or high. They blame themselves for being in that situation as opposed to blaming the old dude who raped them. Some women don't even know that they've been raped because at first they said no, but then they realized they couldn't stop the man, so they gave in, and so now they think that that's not rape anymore because they eventually just let it happen. So this whole thing about they don't think they're raped, so how are we gonna tell them that they're raped thing is ridiculous, okay? It's idiotic. There are black folks out here right now who say they've never experienced racism, but actually have on various systemic and micro levels. Just because you don't know something bad has happened to you doesn't mean it didn't happen. Glenn Beck is an asshole. We knew that. But this isn't just being an asshole. This is dangerous. This is perpetuating bull in a manner that can't be overstated. And men, we have to say something, because when we don't, we now then become participants in this horrendous action against women across our nation. Seriously, step the f*** up. All right, I think we're gonna need a cool down here, so why don't we do a little bit of a politricking?
Was filed against Mississippi judge and former police officer Bill Weisenberger for smacking a mentally disabled black man and then yelling, "Run, N-word, run." The judge then bragged about the incident. When a woman spoke up and suggested Weisenberger change his tone, he explained he would only talk to her husband because he doesn't take orders from women. And just a side note, Mississippi law only requires judges to have a high school education.
So in the words of Lovey, I am unable to can with this story.
In Mississippi, a judge, let's pause for a sec, a judge. Okay, as in one who presides over the pursuit of justice, slapped a mentally challenged black man at a flea market and called after him as he ran, "Run, nigger, run."
You know, things in the antebellum South were just different, you know.
And called after him as he ran, "Run, nigger, run."
The Jim Crow era was...
And called after him as he ran, "Run, nigger, run."
Monday? Does that say Monday?
And called after him as he ran, "Run, nigger, run."
Monday?
Okay, so here in San Francisco, it's 2014. What year is it in Mississippi?
So this man is actually a national treasure because clearly he's invented time travel and is visiting us from 1952.
When I first heard about Judge Bill Weisenberger slapping a mentally disabled black man and calling him the N-word, I just kept wondering, did Steve McQueen direct this?
A Mississippi judge has been accused of smacking a mentally disabled man and telling him to run, nigger, run, which is really upsetting to me because the Supreme Court told me that racism was dead.
Now, I know it's terrible. This poor young man was apparently just standing in a designated spot waiting to do odd jobs to earn a little cash, and he has cognitive difficulties. But you know what? I don't care if he was the entire talented 10th rolled into one person and was speaking Latin and curing cancer at the same time. It would still be despicable.
Sir, are we in what is happening?
When a local woman asked the judge to change his tone, he said, "I don't take orders from women." Now, this is a wonderful story because it's not every day that you get such a melange of racism and sexism. I mean, bellissima.
I like that he completed the racism with the misogyny, because you just get that extra flavor.
When I first heard about Mississippi Judge Bill Weisenberger being accused of slapping a mentally disabled black boy and then yelling at a woman who had the nerve to stand up for that black boy, I thought, you know what, that makes sense, because wherever racism goes, there's sexism right behind it. They're like a dynamic duo of hate.
So rightfully so, his family has filed a complaint.
A complaint. I like how that's a complaint, just like a judge parking in the handicap spot or a judge being late to a meeting. I like to know that at the end of the day, all filed complaints are equal.
And you could take any element of this story away and it would still be absolutely awful. That's how many kinds of wrong this is.
You don't even need a degree to become a judge in Mississippi. You just gotta be judgmental.
In the new documentary, The Milky Way, producer Chantal Molnar lays out the case for how American culture sets up mothers to fail at breastfeeding. She attributes this to several factors. One is that many hospitals take the baby away from the mother immediately after birth. This interrupts the feeding sequence. It disrupts a natural progression of physiological mechanisms that automatically get the baby to latch onto the mother. It turns out that formula companies, when after the baby is born, a lot of hospitals start pushing formula on new mothers rather than breastfeeding. Well, it turns out that formula companies donate architectural plans to hospitals that separate mom and baby. And these formula companies are actively helping hospitals create a need for formula. So that's one factor. Another factor is that America has really horrible maternity and paternity leave laws. America is one of only 4 countries in the world that does not have government-mandated paid maternity leave, and a new documentary says that that is one of the many reasons why America has a low breastfeeding rate. For example, in Sweden, mothers get 18 months of paid maternity leave. Fathers get 2 months of paternity leave. And it's also frowned upon in Sweden to not take maternity leave. So in America, a lot of women say they're going to go on maternity leave, but then if they're, trying to create a career as a corporate lawyer or in some corporation, it's frowned upon. I mean, you pop that sucker out and then you get back to work in a month. Not in Sweden. And also in Sweden, they have people that come to your house and help you. So America, get it together. Get it together.
Why would they get it together? That's socialism.
I was about to say.
That's socialism. Like you're sitting there going oh, well, I need to, I'm going to have people, but government's going to come help you? No, you communist. No one's, why do we suck so hard? And
we do.
And by the way, I'm not claiming America sucks that hard. I'm claiming, again, dudes. Because if dudes all of a sudden decided that this is okay, I don't think there'd be a groundswell of women saying no.
Donald Thompson, the CEO of McDonald's, has stated that he believes his company pays, quote, fair and competitive wages, end quote, using Chief Operating Officer Tim Fenton as an example, who worked his way up from crew member in 1973.
McDonald's had their annual shareholders meeting, and while low-wage workers protested outside, inside, the CEO insisted they pay fair wages.
Am I the only one who's kind of shocked to find out that the CEO of McDonald's is not Ronald McDonald?
When I heard McDonald's CEO Don Thompson bring up COO Tim Fenton, who's apparently been with the company since 1973, as an example of upward mobility, it reminded me of the other 440,000 McDonald's workers that are apparently too lazy to attain greatness.
Why you lying, Don?
And his actual quote is, "We continue to believe that we pay fair and competitive wages."
But there is nothing fair about a McDonald's bathroom and having to clean it.
In fact, McDonald's pays them so little that they might as well just pay them in chicken McNuggets. You can imagine a worker going home and saying, hey, I made 10.5 McNuggets today.
When I first heard about the CEO of McDonald's saying that they pay fair wages, I was wondering if he was counting food stamps and welfare as part of the fair wages.
Really, I'm sure he does continue to believe that.
I actually agree with them, because they do. If you're the CEO of McDonald's.
Some people continue to believe in the tooth fairy. I continue to believe that I won't have too much wine on the weekends, and sometimes what we continue to believe is not actually true at all.
So McDonald's CEO Don Thompson says that his employees are paid a fair wage. And that makes sense. That's exactly why when I was growing up, everybody said, you go to school, you work hard, you keep your nose clean, you can grow up to raise a family on a job that you get at McDonald's.
We shouldn't ask CEOs these questions.
Oh, wait. Oh, it was Apple or Microsoft. No. Can we roll that back? Because that's not. I didn't mean.
Open Carry, Texas, a delightful bunch of pro-gun folks have been walking into fast food restaurants with various assault rifles. Their mission? The safe and legal carry of firearms openly in the state of Texas in accordance with the United States and Texas constitutions and applicable laws.
So a bunch of pro-gun folks from Open Carry, Texas decided it's a good idea for them to strap their assault rifles on their backs and visit fast food joints like Chipotle and Sonic.
I was okay with it because it was Chili's and Sonic. But when they started messing with Chipotle...
Who doesn't want a burrito with a side of gunfire?
Oh, hell no.
Now, I take it there are no black members of Open Carry, Texas, because if so, the police would have shut that down immediately.
Y'all gotta go.
So Open Carry, Texas has been carrying assault rifles into local fast food eateries because they want to prove that guns aren't scary. They're safe when they're held by safe people.
Well, when I heard that Open Carry, Texas was a pro-gun group was bringing assault rifles to fast food restaurants to normalize behavior, I was thinking, how can you tell friendly gunmen from non-friendly gunmen?
What kind of bizarre exposure therapy experiment do these dingbats think they're running? Your constitutional right to bear arms does not preclude my right to eat a cheeseburger without looking at a deadly weapon.
How do we tell them apart? Is there like an app that makes everything like Call of Duty so that friendly gunmen are blue and non-friendly gunmen are red?
Surprisingly, the restaurants gave them the boot, telling them that they're making children and families upset and uncomfortable. You think?
Because you can be damn sure that if a bunch of people come into a restaurant that I'm eating at with assault rifles, I'm out the door. I'm not waiting for the waitress. I'm not waiting to pay my bill. I'm out the door. I'm in my car. I'm down the street. Sorry.
You want to know why people are afraid of being around guns? Because 100% of shootings happen near guns.
They say the customer's always right, but they didn't tell you that the customer's also right-wing gun nuts. You have got to get that order correct.
Really, you guys? You're taking guns around the paranoid weed heads at Sonic? That's not right.
Welcome to McDonald's. Can I please take your order?
On a very serious note, we've just had a gruesome mass killing in Isla Vista, California, perpetrated with semi-automatic guns that were purchased completely legally. The last thing we need is to be parading guns around casually, as though we don't have a serious problem with gun violence in this country. You want me to feel more comfortable with your guns? I want to feel more comfortable with more restrictive gun laws and background checks and legislation that makes a difference.
The concept of a war on women is something that gets mocked heavily by conservatives. They think it's a load of BS cooked up by the left simply to attack Republicans. Because hearing concerns from women and then speaking up about those concerns is obviously an attack on Republicans! I'd argue that the only way you can think of the war on women as a conservative smear campaign is to also ignore the long-standing war on women that's existed for literally thousands of years. You know, like back in the day when you went to war and you conquered a people or a nation, you know what was normal? Raping their women. Don't believe me? Google it. Rape has accompanied warfare in virtually every known historical era. And look at the title of this Wikipedia entry. It's called War Rape. It's not like, oh, some people on occasion have raped during war. No, this is an actual tactic of war. It has a frickin' name. The Bible even mentions raping in the midst of war. Maybe this smear campaign against the Republicans started like in the Bible, you know? I mean, it does say help the poor and all that crap, and helping people is most definitely a right-wing smear because they don't like to do that. When America was founded, women couldn't vote or own land. Women got the right to vote in America less than 100 years ago. USA! USA! Sexual harassment was outlawed through the Civil Rights Act of 1964. You know, that thing that Rand Paul wouldn't have voted for? But that wasn't actually decided until a Supreme Court case in 1986. USA! America is one of the worst first world countries for women when it comes to having children. Maternity leave is considered bad, but if you're a working mom, your devotion to your kids is questioned. In 2014, women are still experiencing a pay gap, and when you drill down deeper into those groups of women, Black and Hispanic women have it even worse. USA. I haven't even touched the attempted legislation of reproductive rights and how conservatives love to be all up in folks' uteruses. Uterusi? If you were pregnant, some insurance companies before Obamacare would consider that a precondition and either not cover you or charge you more for coverage. So yeah, the war on women isn't made up, and it isn't a liberal thing. As humans, we've treated women badly for thousands of years. And now we sit here in America, full of supposed exceptionalism, and yet our military has a ridiculous rape problem. College campuses have a ridiculous rape problem. Women are terrified to even report rapes because of the stigma that comes with it, the questioning of what they did to deserve the rape, whether they are telling the truth about the rape or just trying to ruin some young man's life. As men, we're taught that women are a prize to be won, not a partner to find and build with. The UC Santa Barbara shooter Elliot Rodgers believed he deserved a woman to have sex with him because he was a nice guy. So what from all of his writings and videos he came off like a complete and total douche? He felt that he was nice, and if women did not give him sex, they were bitches and needed to have his revenge exacted upon them. And then we have folks like Boyce Watkins, whose December 2013 article, How Sleeping with the Wrong Woman Might Make You a Rapist, is making the rounds right now because of his interaction with Mark Lamont Hill and an open letter from Duke's Mark Anthony Neal with other academics attempting to address Watkins' problematic commentary. Boyce Watkins has been a problematic dick for a while. From his attacks on single mothers to a weirdly obsessive dislike of Dr. Melissa Harris Perry and anyone he deems to have sold out to white folks and liberals, Watkins has been dressing up his ignorance in a PhD cloak for years now. Just because you claim scholarship, sir, doesn't mean what you're saying is correct in any form or fashion. But let's deal with this article. Watkins claims that most folks who have an issue with the article just read the title. I'd argue that if you give your article a problematic-ass title, then you have to shoulder some of that blame. But no, let's talk about the article itself. In it, Watkins pleads with non-rapists to be careful of who you sleep with because you can end up accused of rape in a society that is already so unjust to black men. That sounds really innocent and like caring, right? Except for the fact that we live in a society that also already consistently blames and shames women for rape. You decide to then frame an article around false allegations? If Watkins' article was simply a call for responsibility among young black men on their sexual encounters, this would be a completely different thing. But Watkins claims that this is an article just for black men and that feminists and liberals need to stay out of this. Well, I'm going to tell you as a black man, sir, I don't want to have a conversation where feminism is completely rejected. As a black man, I feel that feminism should be a part of the very fabric of our conversations. I'm a black man who was raised by a single black woman. I know, boys, single mothers are a problem. Okay. My friends and family are comprised of black women. When I express anguish around society's treatment of black men, I'm comforted and supported by black women. Yet, when talking about black men, we should discount feminism completely? No. Does Boyce Watkins understand that to promote rape culture, you don't have to do any cheerleading dance and say, "Go rape"? Rape culture and misogyny isn't always black and white like that. Just like racism, shades of gray apply to these areas as well. Gray misogyny is just as real as gray racism. Saying things like legitimate rape or framing conversations on the concept of false rape allegations when just recently a study out of the UK found that false rape allegations in their report was at 0.6% of all reported rapes. Let's say in America it's 5 times higher. That would be around 3% of reported rapes. Now, of course, I would never say that dudes caught up in the small percentage of false allegations don't matter, but with the epidemic of sexual assault in America and the amount of women terrified to even attempt to deal with their assault, you think it wise to frame a conversation like this? You say you care about the sisters. Did you know that black women are more likely than white women to be sexually assaulted? But yet you think it wise to stoke the fire around the concept of false rape allegations. As a supposed scholar, I think you would understand of all people that conversations and commentary like this adds to the bigger picture. There's a way to advocate for black men without creating more problematic ideas. You know who else wants to highlight false rape allegations? Conservatives who's trying to stop the conversation around rape on campuses. You want to be a part of that conversation, sir? You want to be a part of that group? As opposed to doubling down when your colleagues come to you and try to explain to you how problematic what you're saying is, perhaps, just perhaps, you should try listening and stop throwing out so much utter bullshit. Well, this has been a lot of show. Thank you guys for watching, and always remember you can send us feedback at ablackshow@freespeech.org. That is ablackshow@freespeech.org. Thank you guys for watching. Have a pleasant evening.